It's time for what we like to call the main events. And Raul, there can only be one main event. It's something that kind of has been being bantered about for quite some time. From what we find out now, Canelo and Crawford, a lot of announcements have been made. It was going to be part of the TKO venture with Turkey Al Sheikh and Dana White.
Yeah.
Now we don't know if it's going to be a part of that or not. One thing we do know, it's no longer going to be Friday, September 12th. Now they're saying they're going to move it to Saturday, September 13th, which kind of complicates a lot of things because originally it was supposed to be, obviously taking place in Las Vegas. They were going to
Yeah.
make it the first event to take place at the beautiful Allegiant Stadium there, right across from the Mandalay Bay. It's a big football stadium. They were going to be doing it in conjunction with Dana White. Dana White famously is not a big fan of stadium shows, and I have to agree with him.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of stadium shows as well. How about you?
Yeah, I agree, man. Remember, what was it? Manny Pacquiao Margarito, right here in Dallas. The ring is in the middle of the football field, Lupina. And pretty much, only the guys the people that are on the floor ringside, they get a good view of the fight. And all the other ones, you're watching the fight up on the big old screen, whatever it's called. They're watching the fight on there. For the fighters, the walkouts, it takes like, minutes longer, obviously, to get to the corner. And then, if you're the first one to walk out and you're waiting there for the champion to walk out, you got to stay warmed up because it's a process before they get there. They play the national anthem and all that stuff. I'm not, I agree with Dana. I'm not a big fan of the big stadium shows like that.
I've done a few stadium shows. I've done Yankee Stadium where
Yeah.
Miguel Cotto had a fight there
Hmm.
against Yuri Foreman. I did a couple of them at Dallas Cowboys Stadium. I did the first Pacquiao against Claudio, and then Pacquiao against Margarito. And it's a very different experience. The one thing I do like is the fact that it does allow more people to be part of the event where,
Right.
you've got 60, 70,000 people that can fit in the arena. So you're able to put some of the price points much lower than you would, say, at a T-Mobile or an MGM Grand Arena. But what you do realize is once you're there at the venue, it's not that great. If you
It's
looked
far
at some of the
away.
footage we showed, yeah, it's far away. If you look at some of the footage that we showed from Dallas Cowboys Stadium or from Allegiant Field, you're a
Yes.
good. If you're in the cheapest seat in the house, you're at least a good 60, maybe 70 yards away from center ring. And like you mentioned, what you end up doing, you just end up looking at the big jumbotron,
Yes.
and you might as well have stayed at home if that's what you're going to do.
And let me tell you something. You're paying a hefty price for those seats that are far away, Lupina. What are they running? At least $500, $750, 350. You're going with your couple or a couple of people. That's then you're drinking beer. The food gets expensive. You're better off watching the fight at home, and you're gonna get a way better view of it in your own living room.
Yeah, it really does work out that way.
Yeah.
And I know Turkey Al Sheikh has been big on doing these unique venues, but I think what happens is once you get to the event, you get over the venue very quickly. I know when I did the shows there at Cowboy Stadium, I had never been there before. It's a spectacular venue, but it's designed for football. It's not designed for a more intimate
Exactly.
setting like you
Yeah.
would want for a boxing match. So the questions now arise: where is it going to take place? They talked about various options that they might land in Las Vegas. It can't be at Allegiant Stadium because I looked up
No.
the schedule for Allegiant Stadium. You got UNLV is going to be playing a game against Idaho State on Saturday night there at the football stadium. So they
Right.
can't do it there. It's they can do a pretty quick turnaround from taking it from a boxing arena to a football stadium, but not that quickly. I don't think they're going to go into T-Mobile. They're not going to go into the NGM Grand because I just think it's kind of an antiquated arena that it doesn't have the prestige, it doesn't have the size of some of the other
Right.
venues. And then you run into some of the weird questions as well, where Canelo's a businessman. He
Yeah.
knows that if you go into
Taxes.
California, yeah, you go
Taxes.
into New York, the taxes get pretty steep.
LA, you go into California también, they want to do it in LA, the Staples Center, or what's the other big stadium called? They go in there. You did it in California, Texas. You did it.
SoFi.
What about Texas? What about Texas?
Texas does give you an opportunity. There are no taxes in Texas.
Right.
I didn't look into what the schedule was for Cowboy Stadium, but it is the start of right where football season started to begin. Late August, early September. There may be some exhibition games going on, or those venues get booked pretty quickly now. They get booked, a
Yeah.
year, 6 months in advance. So it's not like you can just say, "Hey, we want to go into Dallas Cowboy Stadium," and the
Yeah.
deal gets
Right.
done. It also brings up a lot of other questions there, and basically it's just speculation. The only people who really care about this tend to be boxing people and the insiders who are trying to figure out, okay, so who's going to promote it? Is Dana still involved? Is there a problem between Turkey and Dana? What are your thoughts on it? Obviously, Dana's the guy who, you know, as I mentioned to you off air, he's not a soldier. He's a captain. He's a guy who
Oh,
wants to be in charge. And Turkey seems
absolutely.
to be the same type of personality.
Yeah. I mean, and as you could see, man, you see the shirt I'm wearing, Lupina. I'm Dana team all the way, guy. You know what I mean? Like,
Slurp, slurp.
yeah, yeah. Hey, no, but listen, Dana, he's a promoter. You've seen the work that he's done with the UFC, and when he promotes, he does a really good job of it, and he likes to control, like you said, he likes to control the promotion, even the production, the talent, who's doing all. He's a guy that likes to control everything. You can't blame him because he's done a really good job, and I just think, whatever's going on, like, all this talk about that supposedly Dana's might be out of the promotion now because Turkey, changed the dates, and they saying that the date might land now, and the fight might land in Saudi Arabia. Think about it, Lupina. A fight in Saudi Arabia, Canelo and Crawford. It just, I don't know, man. It doesn't sound right to me in front of what, uh, 1,500 people, 1,000 people at 6 o'clock in the morning, bro. It doesn't
It,
make
it takes
sense,
away a
dude.
lot of
I don't
the
want to see
sizzle
that.
from it. It takes away a lot of the sizzle. One of the reports coming from our good friend Ricardo Celis last night, who said that it looks like it may be going to Riyadh. How accurate that is, I'm not quite sure. Like I said, at this point, there's a lot of speculation. Everybody's speculating as to why it's going on, what the issues are coming up. When you talked about Dana, obviously you said Dana knows talent, he knows entertainment. Say what you will about his personality or the way he does business, but the guy knows how to get results. And another issue that
Yes.
comes up, they have one of their signature events that particular weekend as well, which is Noche UFC, where they showcase on a lot of the Mexican talent. It's supposed to be happening in Guadalajara. They're building a new stadium there. There's some questions as to whether that stadium will be ready. So they're saying that perhaps it lands in Vegas. And if anybody has pull in Vegas, it's Dana. So if you're going to
Oh,
go
absolutely. Yeah.
Dana in Vegas, you're going to lose.
Oh yeah, Dana. I mean, not too long ago, he had a noche event there in Vegas, and it was successful, man. Even some of the boxing people were going to his event before they went to the main boxing event. So yeah, you're right. I mean, Dana has a lot of power in Vegas, and honestly, I hope they come to an agreement. I think Dana and the Turkey guy. I mean, I think they're good for boxing. I just think. I mean, look, it's two wealthy guys. They have a lot of pride. They have a lot of egos. I'm sure they're not agreeing on certain things, but I think both of them together, Lupina, I think it's a good thing for boxing. So I hope they get it sorted out. Even if they're not going to work together in this next fight, I hope, they still work together on bigger events, and also that boxing league that we're talking about. And they need to put, the egos and pride, whatever's holding them back. I mean, Lupina, look, what I'm probably worth what, like 10, 15 times more than you, something like that. And me and you,
Possibly, yeah.
hey, hey, how many
Assholes. I mean, just an
hey,
asshole.
Lupina, how many disagreements do me and you have?
On a weekly
I
basis, at least three or four.
Hey, me and you, hey, you're Reynosa, Tamaulipas, hard headed. I'm by Hermosa, Tamaulipas, hard headed. But we always come to an agreement, man. And look, we're here. Why? Because we come to agreement. So
At least
if
at least once a week, we sign a contract to have a fight at your gym, and then the fight never quite happens. Oh, speaking of contracts,
wait,
before I
wait,
forget,
I owe you the bet. You won. I
let's
was wrong.
clarify since we're talking about Canelo,
Yeah,
I was correct. The fight took place in Las Vegas. Canelo was God, now I forget the Cuban's name. Give me his name.
Islam de Lara.
Eddie's Lani Lara, that's right.
Yeah,
It took
Lara.
place.
I
It
thought it
took
was
place
also
in
trial.
Las Vegas. Yeah, you got
It
the
was
two guys
also
confused.
trial.
And
Yeah, in San Antonio. It was also tried in San Antonio, but it was Lara in Las Vegas. And yes, you won the bet. I'm gonna take you out to eat, but I want people to know when I lose bets to Lupina and I take him out to eat, this guy orders like an appetizer. He orders a full entree, like
and you know
two
I
full
can eat. You
entrees.
know, if there's one thing I can do, I can eat. I can eat my weight
Oh yeah,
in food, whatever might be in front of me. So
he takes
that is
advantage of it.
so. If you had to guess, where does this fight land? What do you think happens?
Man, what they're talking about, there's a lot of rumors that it's gonna probably land in Saudi Arabia, Lupina. I'm hoping, you know what? I'm hoping it lands in Texas. I'm gonna go for Texas, man. What do
And
you
I know
think?
you'll be calling people trying to get your free tickets because Raul does not pay for tickets. I think I'm leaning towards. I think it probably ends up in Saudi Arabia because
Yeah,
I think people want control. People want to be able to have full reign over what's happening.
yeah,
And I think when you have the two protagonists involved, I really don't think they care where it happens. But I think it would be sad if the fans don't get to participate
right.
in a fight of this magnitude, a fight with historic implications. So I think that is a shame. But moving on, speaking of other fights and speaking of venues getting announced, this July 19th, the venue has been announced for NYC. It obviously the card that we're referring to. It's Berlanga will be facing off against Hansa Shiraz. They had a press conference this past week, and the venue that they've chosen is Louis Armstrong Stadium there in Queens, New York. If you're not familiar with the venue, it is one of the tennis arenas that's part of the giant complex where they have the U.S. Open, and it's kind of an understated arena, but I think it's a good choice for this particular event.
I agree. I mean, it's a obviously it's not a big. I mean, it's not a stadium like a football stadium. I think it's different. It brings a different excitement to the just to the boxing crowd in general, and try to not just get the boxing crowd, get other people interested in boxing. I could see the ring in the middle of the tennis court. Uh, I look forward to that. I think it's going to be a huge event, and I think it should be successful.
It's a great place for it. You've got
Yeah,
Berlanga, who's a New York guy. Obviously, he's a very proud Puerto Rican heritage. You've got Shakur, who is from just across the Hudson River in Newark, New Jersey. And
right.
it's not a massive venue. It's a venue that, if you look there, it's probably maybe right around 10,000 people.
Perfect.
Uh, it's an open air arena. Typically, that time of year in New York, it's not too hot, it's not too cold. So I
Yeah,
think it works out.
and
And
it's
I think
different. I mean, I don't
it
think.
is different.
Yeah, when has a fight been held in the middle of the like in a tennis court? I think and that's what makes it different. So it's gonna be fun.
Actually, one thing you may not know is the Home Depot Center, or whatever they're calling it this particular day. That's a tennis arena as well, and it's a
Oh, that's
beautiful
right.
place for a setting. It's a beautiful setting there because there's not a bad seat in the house. The angles
Yep.
are great. Uh, it gets to be very raucous. The shape of the arena also generates a lot of great acoustics. So when the crowd goes wild, you can hear it. The only difference there is it gets freezing cold at night. The one there in Carson, California, it gets really cold.
I
What
remember that.
One thing that I wanted to bring up, they did have a press conference and they were talking to the opponent of Edgar Berlanga, Hansa Shiraz, and they were
Right.
asking all the fighters about what was their Mount Rushmore of boxing, and essentially who are the four all-time greats that you would post on the Mount Rushmore of boxing, and
Yeah.
and it really kind of caught me by surprise with what his answer was, and let me play it here for you. This is Hamza Shiraz's answer when they asked him who would he put on the Mount
Okay.
Rushmore of
All right.
boxing.
Your top four, in your Mount Rushmore boxing.
So Muhammad Ali, Floyd Mayweather, Edwin Valero, Sugar Ray Robinson.
Did you hear that?
Edwin Edwin Valero, the late
Edwin
Edwin Valero.
Valero, the late,
Wow.
the notorious, the infamous Edwin Valero. And this isn't the first time that I've heard fighters kind of reference Edwin Valero. You and I both had the chance to do some of his fights. A
Yes.
great fighter, highly skilled, uh, almost
Vicious.
vicious, almost a mythical type of fighter. They would talk about some of the sparring sessions he had with Manny Pacquiao at the Wild Card
Right.
Gym. He would knock out these guys. But to call him an all-time great, that really caught me by surprise. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, he never even got there. I mean, who did he fight, Lupina? I can't go back and think of a name fighter. Maybe he fought. I think he fought this guy named DeMarco or something like that. Uh,
Yeah, he
but
fought Antonio DeMarco was his
DeMarco,
last
yeah.
fight,
But
and then prior
besides
to that,
that, who
he fought
else?
Pitalua.
Yeah, but who? I mean, there are not big names on the resume compared to the other fighters that on the the four guys that he named. Come on, maybe he just likes his style. Maybe he likes the way he fights, which he kind of fights that way. Shiraz kind of fights like he's aggressive. He comes
He's
forward,
aggressive. He's aggressive. Does not
can
have
be
the
vicious.
power. Yeah, does not have the power that
Nah,
Valero definitely had. But it just
yeah,
really caught me by surprise, and it's one of those situations too where it seems it seems that people have kind of fallen in love with the myth of Edwin Valero, and then especially
right,
with the way that everything ended. If you're not familiar with who he is, he was a world champion. He was undefeated. He was like I think 27-0 with 27 knockouts, just a devastating power puncher. It
right.
came to a very tragic and awful end where he murdered his wife and then subsequently took his own life the same day. And and
Very sad.
there's something about that appeals to fighters. I don't know if it's a morbid curiosity about who he was, what he did.
Yeah,
Granted, this happened in 2010, so he's been gone for quite some time. And I think what has occurred is I think the reality of Edwin Valero and the myth of Edwin Valero are very far apart now. And there's something about that appeals to the fighters, and I just can't put my finger on it. How about you?
I mean, no, I mean, I was about to say, I mean, what he did, outside of boxing, that's not very appealing to me. I mean, he was not right in his mind, Lupin. Anybody that does something like what he did, something was wrong. He obviously needed help, but inside the ring, yeah, you got to be vicious. You got to have power. You gotta have balls, man. It's boxing, and I love this style. He had that devastating knockout power. He was very brave in there. He came to fight. He put action fights. He was athletic. He was in shape. Too bad we didn't get to see more of him. But he definitely was a very good fighter. But being on the Mount Rushmore one of the four top fights. I mean, I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't know what
yeah.
I don't know how
As we
I
say
don't
in
agree.
Spanish, se pasó. That
Se
was
pasó yeah,
Yeah, big time. That
big
was way
time.
off. There was also some boxing that went on. Nothing of great note, but there was a nice little fight in the UK. You had David Allen. He KO'd Johnny Fisher, and you had two heavyweights. There are guys that perhaps are not very well known here in the US, but it was a nice little scrap. Fisher came in
Yeah,
undefeated. It was for the WBO Intercontinental Heavyweight title. It was kind of a nice win for Allen. He's a guy who
right.
I think on a personal note, he's been going through several issues. I think at some point he was contemplating suicide. He had a gambling addiction. He was just having a really tough time. And Fisher was being pushed as like the next big heavyweight to come out of the UK.
A lot of hype.
And yeah, Allen really turned
Big hype.
out to put on a
Yeah.
great performance.
Yeah, it was a lot of hype for Fisher. I mean, they had already fought the first fight. Fisher won it was a split decision, but there was some controversy there. Allen had dropped him in the fifth round too, and a lot of people thought Allen won. I thought Allen probably pulled it out, but in the rematch, he didn't leave it up to the judges, man. He knocked him out in the fifth round, and I think for someone like Allen, I mean, he's got 7 losses, Lupina. So either if Fisher if they want a rematch, a third fight like a trilogy, because they're 1-1, they could probably make a trilogy out of it. And like Allen he needs to take the cash, man, cash in, Or I would think in an all British like heavyweight fight, there's some big name like AJ, maybe Dubois. That sounds like doable fights for Allen.
Yeah, there's a lot of fights in the UK that can be made from that. They may not garner a lot of attention here in the US, but they're definitely going to get a lot of attention there in the UK. So hopefully they can make something happen with that. And it's not the end for Fisher. He's a big, strong guy,
Right.
and if he gets things together, he'll be able to recuperate.
Yeah.
Another story that came
I,
out was apparently Teofimo was calling out Boots Ennis he's saying that he wants a piece of Ennis, and they posted some stuff up on there, and he had this little cryptic text here which says they're playing mind games on you. Make sure you sign the contract, and let's get this going. What are your thoughts on that fight if it were to happen?
Man, that's a very intriguing fight. I mean, both of those guys are high level, very high level fighters. You know, they're very smart. You know, the boxing IQ. It's a fight that you really have to break down. You know, the power, the speed, the movement that they have. I mean, they both have, you know, very similar styles. You know, they're both switch hitters. They move from lefty to right, right to left. They got good footwork. They're athletic. Lupina, I believe that Teofimo has probably fought better opposition, you know, and as we saw when he's on, he's on. We saw him with Barbosa in the past. We saw him with Lomachenko. We saw him with Taylor. I just thought he's fought better guys. Now that's not taking it away from Duran Ennis, because when I saw Duran Ennis, I covered him a bunch of times on Showtime. I covered him on Showbox. When he was coming up, I was like, man, I was very impressed by him. I said, this guy is got the goods. He's very skillful. The way he moves, the way he moves so fast inside the ring when he's moving righty to left, left to right. I was very impressed, and with that also came power. But I think he's been a little bit carefully matched, you know, Duran Ennis. But I would love to see that fight. I would love to see that fight. A fight between Teofimo and Ennis would be a very interesting fight. Of course, Teofimo will be coming up to 147, but you know, Teofimo, he's been wanting to come up to 147 for the longest, and I can't say Duran Ennis is like a big guy, because even when he started as his career, you know, he fought as low as 141, 143. So I think it's a legitimate fight at 147, and hopefully it happens down the line.
A lot of it has been made about the level of opposition of Girones, but he's fought the guys they put in front of him.
Yeah,
Let's be honest. He's also been avoided quite a bit because he's a guy who's more dangerous than, I guess, popular.
right.
So to go up against him, it's almost like a lose-lose. If you lose against him, you lose to a guy who was better, and you lose to a guy that you really gain nothing from. But what do you think happens? I know a lot of people have always said that a good small fighter beats a good big fighter. Do you think that would be the case in this particular bout?
Like I said, man, it's gonna take me some time to really. I can't give you the breakdown right now, but I do tell you that they're both very evenly matched. That they're very similar style guys. I think Lopez Teofimo, he's more relaxed inside the ring with his style. Like you know, he showboats. You know, he's very comfortable inside the ring, but Ennis has his moves too, and you know, I think he's got more power for sure than Teofimo. But then you know, he's got to catch him with that power. I think it's a very evenly matched fight. I would really have to put some, you know, get down and dirty and really break it down to decide, you know, who would be the winner. Once the fight happens and is signed, though, you know, we're gonna have to revisit and really break it down.